All right. We'll let everybody join in. Rob, does this mean you're at home today?
It does. It does. Well, um, you don't want to talk about splooting anymore?
I do want to talk about splooting. Why don't you share with everybody what sploot is?
Everyone's going to think it's a mortgage term now.
You know,
Let's stop. Can we
well, that
get
could be. I mean,
about what people think it is?
I saw some mortgage folks splooting at the Western side. No, actually, I didn't. Thank goodness. No, it's where in fact, I've used it one time in my opening paragraph. It's where an animal, any animal, whether it's a rhino or a puppy. Yeah, Ira's always good for useless knowledge like this.
Okay.
At least that's what the owner of his company tells me. No, yeah, where the animal's laying down on its stomach, it's like if you were going down a slip and slide, if they still make slip and slides, I don't know if they do or not. Aaron D, squirrels, yeah, they just lay on their bellies and their front paws are out and their back paws are out in the other direction and cooling their bellies or something.
Okay.
Anyway, all right, we're digressing and we haven't even begun.
We are digressing and we haven't even begun. Thank you guys all for joining us. We've got, looks like people still coming in, but I'll go ahead and kick us off. Yes, Aaron, it is a typical rundown. All right. So
Where'd that come from?
Aaron D, she's calling us out for how we start our rundowns. All right, I'll go ahead and kick us off. I'm Melissa Langdale, President COO of the Mortgage Collaborative. I'm joined as always by the brilliant, distinguished Rob Chrisman. And today also joined by the brilliant Camilla Martin with SnapDocs. And excited about the conversation we get to have. Camilla, thank you for joining us. And for those of you that have not subscribed to YouTube, our YouTube channel, please do, and make sure to wherever you get your podcasts, you can subscribe to us there just by searching for TMC Connect. So Camilla, again, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you spending your Friday afternoon with us. And thank you, SnapDocs, for obviously everything that you do for the Mortgage Collaborative. We love having you as a partner and excited to have you share your expertise with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me and SnapDocs on to talk about that. Always happy to be on a call with you and the legend, Rob Chrisman. He's always hard down in conferences. So if you can get him on a webinar, I mean, but yeah, I'm excited to be here. I think it's some really good topics that you guys have outlined for today and ready to dig in.
That sounds great. Well, why don't, just for everybody here that may not know you as well as Rob and I have been able to get to know you over the last little bit, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and your role at SnapDocs?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a mortgage industry lifer, at least I have been so far, my entire professional career going on almost 20 years. I spent most of that time at MERS, now known as ICE, and a couple of years working as a consultant for Ginnie Mae before I joined SnapDocs about 2.5 or 3 years ago. But the common theme in all of my work so far has been very focused on adoption of digital collateral, the use of electronic promissory notes, and basically any technology that allows lenders to take that sort of last mile of the closing process and digitize it. And so I do that at SnapDocs. I work with our lenders, our customers, our secondary market participant customers, and help them understand sort of what does that process look like, what changes when they're accepting digital collateral or originating digital collateral, and what is the right strategy for their implementations that helps them get to, whatever their goals might be. It might be customer experience, it could be increasing profitability, it could be a little bit of everything, but really fine-tuning that strategy so that they get those business outcomes that they're hoping to achieve.
That's great. You, obviously e-closings, particularly when COVID hit, right? Really took off. We had a lot of kind of push for adoption before that, but it feels like, as soon as everybody got remote and that kind of risk of COVID happened, you know, the ability to kind of close in your own home and, you know, go through or limit the amount of time that you know, customers are in either attorney or title company offices was really appealing to a lot of customers. Do you see kind of, you know, from a customer experience perspective, do you see customers really continue to request this? Do you feel like, you know, since COVID has kind of waned a little bit, people are willing to go back into the office, or do you see this as you know, going to continue to grow as people realize kind of the ease of use over time?
Great question. So I'll start by just giving a little bit of background about what SnapDocs does, because I think that'll be a good lead in into why we have these observations and this data available to us. But if you think of SnapDocs, we really pick up where the POS and the LOS stop. So all that interaction that happens during closing, all those participants that need to come together to make that closing happen, you know, settlement, borrower, loan officer, funder, everyone needing to know what they need to do when. All that collaboration today traditionally happens via email and other systems. And so up until SnapDocs, there really wasn't this category of closing infrastructure the way that we talk about it today. So what we do is we digitize every aspect of the closing process, from scheduling of the notary by a title company, the interactions between the notary and the lender and the title company, and actually digitizing the closing experience all the way down to the docs in some instances. So when you ask about that question, you know, it's really interesting because it was a silver lining for digital closings, because a lot of lenders who traditionally thought of digital closings as like a nice to have consumer experience, something very futuristic but not necessary, it really caused a paradigm shift where folks thought of this as, you know, almost like a disaster recovery or BCP type of initiative, like a tool that I need to have on the shelf. Because at the time we were doing crazy things and talking about things like drive-by closings and, you know, doorstep closings. And, you know, you saw the images of people sliding the paper through the door. Well, we all know life found a way. Nothing was going to stop those things from occurring, right? The mortgage industry is one that is going to get it done one way or another. But I still think it was a good shakeup. I think it was a reminder that, like, this is not technology that can be ignored. And it's not just about nice to have and good experience. It's really about so much more. And so did we see people take their foot off the gas a little bit after COVID sort of started to calm down a bit? But no one's going backwards, right? I think everyone's realizing this is something I need to do, and they're investing in the technology. The second boost followed with rates and with the reduction in loan volume, because now you've got folks that are realizing that, you know, there's only so much I can do to originate more loans. There's only so many pivots they can make there. But you can increase the profitability of the loans that you do have, right? And also create a more referral worthy experience if you're taking out a lot of the otherwise manual coordination or issues that come up in a sort of manual traditional paper closing. And so then we saw sort of a resurgence of interest related to that. And I think that's a big part of, you know, sort of what you're talking about now is like the investments that we're seeing lenders make today. They're all in areas of increasing operational efficiency, capital efficiency. How can I make the most money I possibly can on every single loan that I originate?
Yeah, I think you just touched on two really big things, right? Operational efficiency being one of them, and then, you know, kind of leveraging this really to lower the cost of origination at the same time, and maybe even reduce risk in some, you know, way, shape, or form. So, you know, if I think about kind of operational efficiencies, you guys did actually some case studies on this, and kind of started to measure out what kind of efficiencies people were gaining, as well as kind of the extra kind of profit that was capable. I think it would be fantastic for you to share some of that research that you guys did with everybody.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of my least favorite numbers to throw out, because when I do, inevitably someone's going to be like, no, mine was closer to this. But the range that we see with digital closings, particularly when you introduce an electronic promissory note, which allows you to accelerate a lot of the secondary market activity, it's anywhere in the range of $150 to $450 per loan. And if you think about how massive that is, just digitizing that one single document, the note, right? The actual product we're all creating in the mortgage industry, the one that's being bought and sold, can have that kind of an impact. But when you peel the onion back, there's certainly operational efficiency, because I'm not waiting to get docs back. I don't need to manually review anything that was e-signed. There's no way to miss a signature, or, all of a sudden be missing a page. All of that stuff sort of goes away. But once you have the collateral digitally, you can deliver it digitally. Lenders are reporting that they're cutting their warehouse dwell times in half. The GSEs are able to automatically certify e-notes by doing an automated data comparison. So they're funding the purchase of a loan with an e-note in a business day. And all of that in the aggregate, when you don't have closers calling and asking where their file is, or scanning or uploading or shipping, along with the capital efficiencies, is where we see just the massive impact by just implementing these types of changes.
That's fantastic. Guy Schwartz actually had a great question in here, but I'll peel on it a little bit. His question is SnapDocs doing anything to help get Ron in all 50 states a reality? And you and I kind of talked a little bit about kind of the policy side of things, and what might be holding back full utilization of this in the industry. And I think it'd be great for you to spend some time just kind of chatting about that as well.
Sure, definitely. I want to start by asking or just sort of clarifying one thing. The vast majority, and this is always a surprise to folks that hear it, but the vast majority of the e-notes and digital closings that are being done today by the industry are actually not leveraging remote online notarization or in-person electronic notarization. The vast majority are hybrid or hybrid with e-note. And what we mean by that is hybrid is any of the non-critical docs, non-notarized docs, or hybrid with e-note, where you do those non-critical docs and the e-note e-signed, but the security instrument or anything else that needs to be notarized would still be part of a slimmer package that would be signed in person with a notary. The reason you see that is because of the reasons that Sam and others are sort of chiming in here on the chat about, is that, today we do have, I think we're up to like 45 or so states that have adopted RON, but there's different requirements in those states that often need to be managed too. Counties also have to permit e-recording. So if you've e-notarized the document, you can also e-record it. But the beautiful thing about e-note and hybrid is there's no state-specific restrictions that would prevent you from being able to go that route. The note's not notarized, it's not typically recorded. And so our lenders have seen a tremendous amount of success in RON as well, but the vast majority of them are closing them as hybrid or hybrid with e-note when they can. Our recommendation to our lenders is always, no one is closing sort of one way. Digital closings are a spectrum. Anything from a wet closing where interactions are digital and collaboration is digital on a single platform, to a fully digitally signed package that has all those things too. And then there's everything in the middle, hybrid with e-note. What we tell lenders is expect that there's going to be a few different permutations of digital closings that you're going to do, but the goal should always be get as easy as you can on every file and maximize the ROI and maximize the borrower experience, and reduce to the extent you can the amount of hard copy wet ink paper that you're having to manage and deal with.
Bob has a question in the chat too that just came in. He just said, what are you hearing about federal legislation to standardize RON across the country? And this is tricky, for a lot of the reasons you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, there is an act, the Secure Act, that's out right now, and lots of folks have been watching its slow but steady progress. I think one of the reasons you might hear folks say that they're opposed to the bill is that usually what you're hearing is states that haven't had a chance to put in their own legislation, this would effectively preempt, right? And it would require that they permit RON, and it would require basically that they follow the requirements in that law, as opposed to giving the state the opportunity to sort of put its own program in place. So that's where you'll see some resistance. You'll also see some resistance among notary groups that, they have a fear that the more digital the closing process goes, the less their role is necessary, which is absolutely not true. Remote online notarization even still uses a notary. It's just a notary that's able to plug in just like we are right now and look at the credentials and see that the borrower is in fact who they say they are. But the notary is still very much a part of those types of closings.
Great. Becky's got a great question too, that kind of builds on one of the things you were talking about before. I guess they've done hybrid and Ron, but not the hybrid with eNote. Can you walk through some of the benefits in doing the hybrid with the eNote?
Yeah, so the good thing with hybrid with eNote is you take away two eligibility factors that you have to otherwise manage too. You don't have to worry about the state, and you don't have to worry about the county. You don't have to worry about if it's in a state that permits Ron. You don't have to worry about if it's in a county that accepts e-recording. So it takes that piece out of it for you completely. Also, there's a requirement today with e-notarization, and in particular with Ron, that the title underwriter consent to the notarization being done digitally. So you don't have to worry about that one either. And so while there, yes, of course, is tons of value in having a fully digital package and getting all the way to that Ron closing, when you do a hybrid or a hybrid with eNote, since the eNote is the asset that you're delivering to warehouse, more often than not, they just want the note. And the note is what you're delivering to your investor. Those other trailing documents can come in 6 months up to a year, sometimes depending on investor requirements afterwards. So when you're thinking about capital efficiency, acceleration into secondary market, that's where eNote becomes massively powerful. And Becky, to answer your question more directly, one of the reasons we see lenders optimizing for hybrid with eNote versus a full Ron oftentimes is just so that they can scale and do as many eNotes as possible. Effectively, they don't want to say, oh, because it can't be Ron, I don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. I still want to get, as E as I possibly can. What a horrible analogy. I have to find a better one. Maybe something with sploot. It sounds like a cartoon, like comic book, like sploot, right? Or an acronym that the mortgage industry came up with. But yeah, it's basically a tactic just to say, let me get as digital as I possibly can, as efficiently as I can, and get to scale quickly so that I can see that ROI as quickly as possible.
I think the latest study that came out, but by the MBA showed $13,000 to originate a loan, right? That cost of origination just keeps going up, and so obviously having some sort of kind of e-closing experience, whether it be hybrid, whether it be full close or full Ron, can help with that. But we've had Ron and eNotes as a part of things through 2020 pretty significantly. Like, are there other things that you feel like just with your technical background that we could be or should be doing to help either further adoption, to lower that cost of origination even further over time?
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to answer the question, but maybe in a backwards way. There was another question that came in that sort of touched on this too. Someone had asked, like, do all investors accept eNotes? And the answer is no, but the vast majority do. So for example, when SnapDocs did a survey of our lenders and our lenders trading partners, we saw that more often than not, more than 50% of a lender's portfolio or pipeline is eNote eligible. What becomes tricky is the lender making sure that they have a process in place where they can identify the eligibility of a digital closing upfront. And when you hear that, you hear sometimes a secondary market or capital markets team push back and say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to do anything that's going to limit the fungibility or potentially impact the profitability of this loan. I'm going to sell best X. And so I need you to actually be as conservative as you can and not as E as you can. And so what we've done is we had a very large lender that was using the SnapDocs platform, was having the exact same internal debate with their capital markets and secondary markets teams. And we asked them, said, hey, like, give us the last 90 days of data of your secondary market data, and let us take a look at if in fact this is the more profitable path or not. And it was super interesting what we found out for this one lender. Even though 40% of their investors were E-note eligible, 60% of the time, the highest bids came from E-note eligible investors. And even when it didn't, when we took this lender's specific capital and operational efficiencies with every loan closes an E-note in place, they still were netting out 5 bips more than if they had closed it as a paper note and sold at best X. And for this very sizable lender, in the aggregate, this simulation or case study exercise would have netted in another 3.8 million in revenue. So that's massive and significant in this market, right? But I think it's a paradigm shift as we think about profitability. You know, we usually think about it in terms of the price you're receiving in the market, but what we're actually talking about now is the cost to originate these goods, right? And reducing those so that you can make more profit on the back end.
Great. Ira's got a question in there too. He says, is there any pushback from notaries not feeling comfortable with remote notarization as opposed to being in person? Have you heard that?
I have not. Again, the only pushback I've ever heard was from notaries that thought that somehow this is going to make it so that a notary is not needed. You know, like Ron is the first step to actually eliminating notaries altogether. But notaries definitely need to have, in some states, they have to have additional certifications to do remote online notarization. Different platforms look and feel different. So RON providers will offer training to make sure that you know how to use their platform. Some RON providers have a bench of notaries. But you know, if there's a notary listening for some reason, I'd say, you know, I would absolutely look into making sure that you have those capabilities, because it's only going to expand your marketability in the business.
That makes a lot of sense. Rob, you've been quiet today, my friend.
No, it's scaring me a little bit. I'm like, what is he going to ask?
I ran out of words about 3/4 of the way through the Western Secondary this week. So I'm still recovering.
I actually witnessed that because I chased him down the hall and I was like, hi, Rob. He's like, hey.
So going back to your introduction, I mean, you two, I mean, it's been marvelous. I'm just sitting here and the chat and the questions from the people tuning in have been better than anything I could ever ask. So I think, Melissa, you should cue those up. But going back to your background, you said that you consulted for Ginnie Mae, right? Are you sensing danger here?
Oh,
No.
yeah,
So
maybe.
So Ginnie Mae, a lot of people just kind of throw Ginnie Mae, HUD, you know, they just kind of throw that Ginnie Mae out there. They don't know that there are only about 150 or 200 people that work at Ginnie Mae, handling $2 or $3 trillion of outstanding MBS that are, but Ginnie Mae is not known for a hub of technological innovation, shall we say. When did you consult for them? What did you do? And what should people, I mean, what was that like? And is Ginnie Mae trying to catch up with, you know, with what we're talking about today?
They absolutely are. As a matter of fact, I think they're trying to even take a leadership position if they can in that space. So my role as a consultant to Ginnie was to help them with the launch of their digital collateral program, which initially was a pilot. And then they've opened it up to be a full program. So they're accepting e-signed electronic promissory notes in their MBS program. You still have to go through an application process, just like you have to do with the GSEs. You have to do some testing. But, you know, for a lender that is doing a lot of Govy loans, that was a big, you know, to the point someone made in the chat, if you're doing a lot of Ginnie loans, that was a big reason why you maybe didn't want to get into the e-note space earlier, because for as long as Ginnie wasn't taking them, your FHAs, your VAs, your USDAs, you weren't going to be able to do them as e-notes. So what was great about the Ginnie policy is that all of the insuring agencies also signed on. So effectively, Ginnie's policy is the one that they're all aligned with and are following. And I think Ginnie has maybe already 20 or 30 issuers that are starting to deliver e-notes to them. The challenge that remains with Ginnie, and I'm hoping that over the next several months we see this start to change, is they currently can't this is maybe the point you were making, Rob, because of how their infrastructure was initially set up, they don't allow you to commingle electronic notes in the same pool as a paper note. And so for lenders, that's not going to allow them to really press on the gas or do anything meaningful until they lift that. And they're in the process of doing that. But if you hear people say they've been slow moving on their Ginny digital initiatives, that could be the main reason why.
I didn't know that. A lot of people, I mean, Ginny, we talk Ginny this, Ginny that. I think from the loan officers who are, especially the newer loan officers who may be on this call, that's the primary, MBS, mortgage-backed security that FHA and VA loans end up in. And so to have that kind of oh, well, we can't commingle those two, for example, what a pain in the neck. So that would certainly be good to be able to commingle those. So thank you for that. Ginnie Mae is like I said, it's a kind of people don't talk about Ginnie Mae much. There's only a couple hundred people that work there. And, it's kind of this mystery.
I was shocked that head count of employees was surprising to me as well. When I first got there, it was like, a lot more contractors than employees, which is a tough thing. It's a tough thing for them to have to manage, I think, because anytime you're having to rely a lot on outsourced help that needs to coordinate with one another, that's tough. And sometimes they're coordinating with, especially in the consulting world, with their competitors, right? So I think it is a tough spot for sure.
So did you, since I've got the stage here briefly, and then Melissa, you can start with some of the questions that have been chatted in, but we were both at the Western Secondary, a lot of investors there, aggregators, and so on. Freddie Mac had a big presence. What were you doing there? Not, I don't mean that in a bad way, but what
Tell me what you do here.
No, but what were your meetings like? What were the discussion topics that you found yourself involved in at a secondary marketing / capital markets conference?
Yeah. So my role is to help, again, our lenders with their strategy if a mortgage. And effectively, that means we want to help our lenders get as easy as they can be and maximize their ROI from their investment in digital closing. So a big part of my job is education. It's talking to investors, aggregators, servicers, warehouse lenders that aren't accepting eNote yet, because we know every time one of those nodes is activated and is accepting eNote, we see exponential growth because it unlocks more volume that can go digital. And so a lot of times it's just education. It's checking in, asking where they sit with this. Is it something they're hearing from their lenders, or if it's our customers that have asked us to talk to them, giving them some data to help support the decision. But also educating them on the fact that it's good for them more often than not too. So we know the GSEs love when they get the loans in as an eNote because they can auto certify. And to Melissa's point, from a risk perspective, there's so many built-in mitigants. In addition to having like more immediate direct access to the collateral, like a warehouse lender would love to have, right? You're just not seeing the types of issues that are otherwise prevalent in paper notes, and you can't lose them. It's effective, virtually impossible to lose one. The funny, crazy stories you hear about. One customer, I'm not making this up, told us that the FedEx truck drove into a lake and it had, hundreds of boxes of their promissory notes in it. And they had to do lost note affidavits. And this particular lender actually told us that, it was a different lender that said that when they had to do a lost note affidavit, even though they only did it 0.x% of the time, when they added that 0.x% and the cost that they had with preparing and that whole process, it actually bumped their cost savings to something closer to like $500 alone. So it's crazy.
Wow. So what are you guys working on? What's next? Is it just trying to get the entire industry behind you? Is it more working with state and regional organizations, trying to get, state and regional, the states up and going? Is it working more with investors, trying to get their acceptance? You got a lot of balls in the air. So where is your focus?
It's definitely on secondary market acceptance, but also looking at policies that would make this transition easier or better for everyone. So I was sharing with Melissa in one of our earlier discussions as we were prepping for today that one of the firms I used to work for, Falcon, that did the engagement with Ginny May, and you probably know Armando Falcone, wrote a letter recently to FHFA because of the RFI that they put out regarding their single family pricing framework. And in that letter, it talks about all of the benefits that we just talked about with e-notes, why it's better for the consumer, why it's better for the industry, where all those, operational and cost savings and risk mitigants come in. But at the end of it, so there was an ask, which is to see if the FHFA would consider reducing the G fee to finance on loans with e-notes to financially incentivize lenders to make this transition also. Basically to say, recognize that there's some administrative cost savings, some risks that are mitigated, and can that in any way offset then the G fee. So we'll see what impact it has, but it ended up being not just Falcon and SnapDocs that signed off on it, but a number of other vendors, a number of other lenders, warehouse lenders, even, sorry, not warehouse lenders, investors even, that signed up and sort of are trying to, educate the regulators on the importance of this, but also recognizing the fact that sometimes you need to light a fire under some of these initiatives to get them to really take off.
I think that's fantastic.
Well, thank you. One quick comment before Melissa takes the baton back. How many prep calls did you two have? Because I guess I must have missed that email. I don't remember being invited to any prep calls.
I don't think I was invited, Rob.
I'll just sit back here in the corner and mind my own business.
We did not spend that much time together, and I feel like you might have been invited. I don't know. Sorry, my friend, if you were
That's
not.
all right. That's all right. I'm busy doing, very important things.
Okay. We all trust that for sure. So, all right. Well, thank you, Camilia, so much for spending your time with us, for sharing your expertise.
Are we done?
Wait, we are. Do you?
This time flew by. So one of the things I want to bring up is the time does fly, and I forget, Camilla, what you were talking about, but there's the granddaughter. Yes, the little tyrant there, storing up energy. So yes, there's Cosette. What are we doing this weekend? But I can't believe that we're more than halfway through the third quarter already.
I know.
The year is flying, and so it's amazing. It's amazing.
All right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
since Rodney wants to know what we're all doing this weekend, Camilia, do you want to start? What's big on your agenda this weekend?
Oh my gosh, this is the question I also dread, because I haven't given that enough thought, but I'm actually really excited not to have plans. Is that bad? I don't have any plans yet.
That's not bad at all.
Clean slate.
I love it. Rob, how about you?
Well, according to Guy Schwartz, I guess I should spend my weekend putting money into my granddaughter's 529.
Yep.
No, I just went on a very nice bike ride in the Napa Valley, and I'm going to play some hoops. I'm going to be granddaughter babysitting tonight and play some hoops tomorrow morning, and then go to a friend of mine's backyard party, Joe Garrett, who many of you know Joe's name. He's a banking consultant. He's having a little party in his backyard, and where I hope to see Linda Ronstadt, who's been invited. Linda's not who many people think she is anymore. She's had some rough health issues, but she may be there. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
That sounds like a fun
And
weekend.
Melissa, what are you up to?
I actually, my sons have started cross country, and they have their first cross country meet. So we get to experience that. And then I actually have some spa time on Sunday. So I'm gonna have some time relaxing, which I'm really looking forward to. No golf this weekend, Ira. Sorry. Yeah, this is the weird weekend where I'm not actually golfing.
Yeah, I remember speaking. I mean, you're in Austin. My son Robbie went to school in Austin. He was on the UT bicycle team. So hopefully cross country is more entertaining than that, because when you watch a bike race at the University of Texas, it's like, there they go. Oh, they'll be back through in, an hour and a half. Oh, okay. What are we, we're gonna sit, we're gonna try to find shade until, try to find shade for the next hour and a half. Anyway.
So, Rob, I don't know that you know or not, but I was actually on the cycling team at Clemson.
Really?
I was, yeah. I started off on the mountain bike squad and then moved over to road. As soon as I hit 40 miles an hour on a road bike, I was sold. It was so much fun.
Wow. So you've ridden over those big tiger prints in the roads approaching the school.
Many, many, many times. Yes. And can absolutely attest for the boring nature of watching other people race, because you just sit there, like Rob said, and then you wait for them to come back around. But being in the race is a lot of fun.
You guys were motivating me to make some really good weekend plans. Slooting was one of them, but
Well, you'll have to keep us updated on your splooting activities.
Yes. I want to see pictures of the puppy doing the sploot.
oh yeah, absolutely. I'll save that for the next rundown. I'll just come and pop it into the chat.
That sounds awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Camilia, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and for your time today. Thank you, SnapDocs, for sponsoring today's episode. Really appreciate the partnership that we have with you guys at the Mortgage Collaborative. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks.
Thank you.
So much. Bye-bye.
Bye.